How about now? All right. I guess I got to be in the right spot. Good. Hey, I did forget to announce one thing. Daryl up there, he's got us on live stream. Isn't that right? Am I saying that right? Ustream.
Yes.
I'm not real up on all that,
It's a
but
live stream.
that means for all you people that are out of town or way somewhere, you can get on the internet somehow and watch this live right now, live time. So, your family in California, they can be right on their computer and they can just live right now. So, everybody say howdy. Howdy. All right. Got it. All right. I think that's pretty cool, huh? All right. Let's see. You know, somewhere you guys know, if you've been around very much. Hello. One of my passions is, and one of the reasons that we've just stayed on Thursday night and not really went to a Sunday service is because we're really not out to build a big kingdom of our own here. We really want to promote and go and get this grace message out to all the churches, especially in Southern Illinois. That's our passion. We want one in every town. If you're from a certain town and you tell me, hey, I'm from this town, you know what, someplace where I can go to church and they'll preach this grace message and find out about the new covenant and all that, then I can say, yeah, if you're from that town, you go to this church, this guy. All right, we're getting one going, Marion. It's going good. Dean Hammond's up there, High Point, and so then we're going, and so it's one. We're not going to go to Anna next. Yeah. So, all right. No, we're coming. We're coming. What is that they say? Coming to a town near you. But anyway, something about, I forget where it is. Somebody can tell me if you want to, but where the Bible says, it really says in the last days, and these last days, which I really believe is like into the new covenant, it says that your old men will dream dreams, you young men will see visions. Now, I like that because old men dream dreams. Now, you can dream a dream, and it can be a dream to you. You can dream that dream, and you might lay foundation, and you're going towards that dream, but you're already an old man. You might not necessarily see the thing come to pass. But it says the young men will see visions. I think the young man might be seeing the visions of what the old men dreamed. But the young man, it's called the visions because I believe they're going to see it. I believe they're going to lay their eyes on it, they're going to lay their hands in it, and they're going to go after it and get it. And so, that being said, I really believe it's happening. I really believe that what we're dreaming of and what we have vision of is we're going to see a new covenant grace church walking in the power of God. And when that happens, when people will really start preaching the buck-naked gospel of Jesus Christ, you can't help but change everything. And so I just have a heart for that, and what I really have a heart for, why I said all that is to say this. I really believe God is doing something. He's using everybody, all right? But I really believe He's doing something in the 30-somethings. 30-something age group, even 20-somethings. Not excluding anybody, but I just know that He's doing something. He's raising up people. And I said, how in the world are we going to get to all these preachers of all them churches? Well, I don't know. They're either going to have to get hungry and get a hold of it or move out of the way. And so I decided we're just going to raise up our own grace preachers and we're going to send them out. And so tonight, I want to introduce you to Tyson Banks. He's our next up-and-coming grace preacher. He gets nervous even if I call him that. But, the Bible also says one can chase 1,000, but 10,000 to fly. I think it's talking about devils. If there's 2 of us, we're going to put 10,000 devils to fly, all right? So Tyson, come on. Tyson's going, I got three reasons I want Tyson to share his heart with us tonight. One is so that I can introduce him to you and you can know who he is, him and Jenny. Wait. Jenny.
Hi, Jenny.
That's his lovely bride. I want you to know who they are so you can be praying for them and fighting for them, encouraging them and supporting them and all that. Number 2, because he needs experience. And number 3, I know that he's got a great big God inside of him, and I believe he can speak into my life. All right? Everybody ready?
Yes.
Hey, appreciate you and love you. Where you at? I know. Good thing we ain't religious. I wore cowboy shirts on the pocket. I ain't never used one of these before. I feel like I should be piloting the plane. Is everybody in the full upright position? Well, I guess Jason's explained why I'm up here. You guys look a little surprised, but I am too. So, man, I don't even know where to start. Jason's been he's been talking about receiving a lot here lately. We're all receivers. I've been thinking about that, receiving, receiver, receiver, receiver. You turn a radio on. When you turn the radio on, it's constantly getting something. It's not a receiver, it's receiving constantly. It's always on, it's always on. I got to think about that. I thought, well, I'm a receiver. I've been a receiver all my life. See, but sometimes when you're receiving something, we've been receiving the wrong message. And I'm not trying to be critical on a church, but I've always felt like I've had a calling to do this, but I dare not tell nobody, because the church that I was going to, the message that I was hearing, I wouldn't want to put that burden on anybody. I mean, it was, you got to do this, and you got to do that, and, you know, you've heard Jason preach the same thing, but I dare not put that pressure on anybody. So the reason I'm up here is just like Jason said, when you learn that it's not about your performance and about what you're doing, but that it's good news and it's gospel. The word gospel means good news. I can get up here and tell somebody, I don't care how nervous I am, it's good news, I'll get up here and tell somebody that. So I'm a receiver. But being a receiver, you gotta dial in a message. You got a little dial and you got different stations you can listen to. Well, we've tuned into Grace down here. And you know, but I still got some religion in me that you know, sometimes I make it about self-efforts. Jason mentioned the Samaritan woman last week, and I got to reading about that. Let's go to John 4. And I know Jason talked a little bit about this last week, but he focused on when Jesus, you know, began to minister to her. It done something to him. It built him up. He was drawn out of her. Well, I got to thinking more about the woman because I related more to her. And so let's just read here in John 4. If you start in verse 4, it said he had to go through Samaria. Talking about Jesus. It said he had to go through Samaria on the way. Eventually he came to the Samaritan village called, I can't even pronounce that, near the field that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. It said he had to go through Samaria on the way. He had to go through Samaria on the way. He had to. I got to looking that up, and I got one of the parallel Bibles given to me. It's got all the different translations. One of them said, this one says he had to. One of them said he must go to Samaria. It wasn't, I think the other one said it was necessary for him to go through Samaria. If you read a little bit about the history, it was uncustomary. He was going from Judea to Galilee, and it was uncustomary for him, or for Jews, and Jesus was a Jew, it was uncustomary for them to travel through Samaria. In fact, they wanted to avoid Samaria because their history, I don't know, it's something about a battle or something, but it was a mixed race. It was Jews and Assyrians, I think, I ain't for sure.
But it was a mixed race, and at all costs, most Jews avoided that area. So for Jesus to say, I have to go through Samaria, it was a big deal. It was something he really felt. He was drawn to do that. He was led to do that. And so he had to. I just thought it was necessary. He had to. He must. I'm thinking, well, what's so important about this woman? And so I get to read a little bit more on this story. And if you go on down, go down to about verse 15, he says, please, sir, the woman said, give me this. This is where he's talking about the water and all that. But go on down a little further. And Jesus tells her in verse 16, he says, go and get your husband. Jesus told her. She said, I don't have a husband, the woman replied. Jesus said, you're right. You don't have a husband. See, Jesus already knew everything about her life. He's Jesus. He's God. He's the Trinity, all that. I don't understand it all. But he already knows everything about her. That's why he was drawn to go through Samaria. He knew what time she was going to be at the well and that she was going to be there. And the thing about it was she was at the well at noontime. And noontime, that's when the sun, they're in the desert. The sun, it's the highest in the sky at that point, and it's hot. I got to thinking more about the story, and this woman, she's been married 5 times, and she's got all this, guilt of her past life on her. And the reason I say that is because she was going, I'm sure all the other, and this ain't in the Bible, but I'm just kind of guessing that all the other ladies that was in the Samaritan village, I bet they went early in the morning when it was cool to draw their water for the day. And this woman, at all costs, she would go to that well in mid-summer, or not summer, but midday, when the sun's the hottest in the sky, to go get this water. That means she's not wanting to, she's avoiding the guilt. She don't want to be ridiculed by these other girls for her past life. He says, go and get your husband, Jesus told her. I don't have a husband, the woman replied. Jesus said, you're right. You don't have a husband. See, Jesus already knows this. So I'm thinking, why is he asking this? For you have had 5 husbands, and you aren't even married to the man you are living with now. You certainly spoke the truth. You certainly spoke the truth. It's a good thing I'm not Jesus, because when I read that, Jesus said, you're right, you don't have them. She's had 5 husbands. He already knows she's had 5 husbands. He already knows that. So to me, she's not really being real clear. She's she's guilty. It feels like she's got a little guilt. She don't want to just go out and say, well, I got 5 husbands. She said, I don't have any husbands. But see, Jesus didn't see the flaw. He saw the truth that she spoke. Me, I see her trying to be conniving and trying to say, well, I don't have them. That's not what Jesus, that's what I see. That's not what Jesus saw. Jesus saw the truth in her statement. You're right, you don't have a husband, for you have 5 husbands. And you aren't even married to the man you're living with now. You certainly spoke the truth. See? Isn't that awesome? He pulls the truth out of that. And so I really related to that Samaritan woman because she just, bless her heart, And Jesus, he didn't want to see it. He don't even see her failures. He sees the truth in her statement. See, she went on, her and Jesus talked a little more, and she went on and ran back to her village, because after she found out that Jesus was the Messiah and he was here, and she found out who he was, and she got, and that he didn't see her failure. She got all excited. She ran back to the village. All them ladies that was probably condemning her before because she's had 5 husbands, but running. She went running to them and brought them back to Jesus. And so this woman, regardless of having 5 husbands and in a past that's probably not real pretty, Jesus was drawn to her. He was drawn. He had to go through Samaria. He had to go through Samaria just to see this girl and to tell her this. And she was responsible for the whole village of Samaria to hear the gospel of grace. See, now I got pretty excited about that, because I used to read the Bible and I didn't pull stuff out of there like I do now. I thought that was pretty neat, and how he had to go, and I just, I really related to that woman. And but I don't have 5 husbands, so I got hungry. I got a little more hungry, and I got to read a little about that woman and you know, the mistakes she made, and how Jesus didn't really see the mistakes, but was focused on the little bit of truth that she told, and he used her to save the Samaritan village. And so I got to thinking about Peter, because I like Peter, you know, and he just, I don't want to say, I feel like I relate to Peter a little bit, because in some of them stories, he gets in trouble a lot, because he kind of runs his mouth, and he's a fisherman. I'm guessing a fisherman, fisherman at that time. That fisherman back then, we say fisherman, that's a hobbyist almost. But see, back then, that was his job. He was a working man. That's why I do construction, I like brick walk. It's a job. See, Peter, his job was, he was a fisherman. And, I got to just read about Peter, and I got to read a little bit about him, and see, Jesus already knew everything about Peter's life too. So when Peter was the first disciple Jesus approached. The first disciple. The first man that Jesus called to be a disciple. Well, if you get to think about it, Jesus already knew his history too. And he knows his future. He knows everything about Peter. And so for him to pick Peter, I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. He's a little later on. Peter denies Christ 3 times. So why would he, but I don't think Jesus really, he didn't focus on what he was going to do. He focused on, the good things that Peter done. He never focused, he never saw Peter for his failures. He saw Peter for, he called him the rock. That's the name Peter means rock. He called Peter the rock. And I thought that was pretty cool. And so anyway, I got to think about Peter, and I thought, man, maybe I can relate something to Peter. So I'm trying to figure out why I'm up here in this and that, and I get to reading about Peter. See, Peter, one of the other things Peter did, Peter was the first disciple to, there was a storm coming, and Jesus, that's when Jesus come walking out on the water. And, all the disciples was in there and scared. And Peter realized who it was. And he said, Lord, if it's really you, call out to me and I'll come out there to you. And Peter, he's the first disciple to step out there on the water. And, he grabs Jesus by the hand. And then he gets a little scared, he second thought, and he starts seeking a little bit of Jesus there. And he still grabs him. Even though he lacked just a little bit, Jesus said, no, I'm still here. That's why you're my rock. I'm still here, and I'll pull you back up out of that water. See, one of the things he said to Peter, in Matthew 16:18, he said, now I say you that you are Peter, which means rock. And upon this rock I will build my church, and all the powers of hell will not conquer it. All the powers of hell will not conquer it. So Peter's in his rock. And so I just, I like Peter, and he just sees Peter for his, for, I don't know quite why. I get a little nervous, and I'm kind of all over the place, and I don't know where I was going with whatever, really, to be quite honest with you. But there towards the end, see, I'm still trying to figure this all out. Jason's giving me the opportunity to be up here. And towards the end of Peter, or not Peter, but the end of John. That's right, thank you. Towards the end of John, this is what I really, when I read this, it really just struck a chord with me, and it's just something I kind of held on to. And in John chapter 21, verse 15, this is after Jesus has been crucified. He's already risen back from the dead. And Jesus is walking down, I I think he's walking out of the Sea of Galilee. Let's just start in verse 10. He said, "Bring me some of the fish you have just caught," Jesus said to Simon Peter. So Simon Peter went aboard and dragged the net to the shore. There were 153 large fish, and yet the net had not torn. "Now come and have some breakfast," Jesus said. None of the disciples dared ask him, "Who are you?" They knew it was the Lord. Then Jesus served them bread and fish. This was the third time Jesus had appeared to his disciples since he had been raised from the dead. After breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" "Yes, Lord," Peter replied. "You know I love you." "Then feed my lambs," Jesus told him. Jesus repeated the question, "Simon, son of John," and Simon kissed Peter. "Do you love me?" "Yes, Lord," Peter said. "You know I love you. Then take care of my sheep." Jesus said a third time, he asked him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was hurt that Jesus asked this question a third time. He said, "Lord, no, you know everything. You know that I love you," Jesus said. "Then feed my sheep." I guess that's what I'm doing up here. I'm trying to feed the sheep. And so I just kind of related to Peter and Sarah and Elvis want to get up here and sing. I got one other little story I'm going to tell you. Jason talked last week about getting his motorcycle, and I was lucky enough to get to go along with him. And to tell you the truth, I was a little nervous, and I had Dean, Pastor Dean, Jason, I'm sitting here in the truck, and I'm thinking, so they're talking, I'm just kind of staying quiet, and then they're talking about, different pastors that are on TV and stuff, and I'm just kind of keeping quiet, and I'm a little intimidated, and see, what I got on my mind at this point is he's here to buy a motorcycle, and so we get there, and everything, I'm not changing the story, everything happened just like he said. See, but when we get there, I get to looking at this bike, and about the time I think Jason's getting ready to start negotiating with this fella, I'm looking this bike over, and I kind of already know, that they've already dealt with the price a little bit and everything. See, but I mess around with old cars and stuff. Me and my dad, we go to the swap meets all the time. Dad calls it wheeler and dealers, and we're wheeler and dealers. I think, oh, these pastors, I get this guy, I can't even go down on the price, I'm looking at this bike, and let's in here, and a rib in the seat, and this and that, and this is what I'm thinking, about that time. That's about the same time when Jason, he starts making this deal with this fella, and he says, "Yeah, I'll buy your bike, and I'll give you X amount of money." He said, "But I know you got that cancer, and we're going to pray for that cancer." And right then and there, we're on the spot, just like he said. Yeah, me and Dean's eyes, we're bugged out, but yeah, we're for this deal. Yeah, we'll get cancer off this guy. And so all that happened just like he said. And Dean buys the bike, we pray for the guy, and just like he said, goosebumps, and wife tears up and all that. And so he buys this bike, and I got to ride it home. And so I'm riding this bike home, I got this grin on my face, I got the wind in my hair, and I'm riding this bike. And, I'm just happy. And I get to ride the bike. And I get to thinking about it, and I'm thinking, oh man, what was I doing? Well, here I am hanging out with pastors, and they're probably, better than me. They're older. They probably read their Bible more, all this stuff. I just get real down on myself. I'm thinking, man, what was I thinking trying to, negotiate a price? He's thinking about cancer on this guy, and I'm thinking about getting a bike for cheaper. And so I kind of get down on myself a little bit. Well, if you remember in the story, we're riding from Mount Vernon, so it's a pretty good distance. And there's a story in the Bible where this government official comes up to Jesus, and he's wanting Jesus to heal his son. And he said, come heal my son. And then Jesus tells this fella, he said, okay, no, I'm not going to go with you, but your son's healed. Go on back home. Well, I guess it was a couple of days travel, they ain't got cars, they're all on foot. and his servant comes out and meets him so far from the thing. And they get to talking about when at the time his son got healed, and they're like, oh yeah, it was at this time. Well, they get to figuring out the same time that he healed his son was the exact time that Jesus said, go, your son is healed. And so I like to think that about the same time I'm getting real down on myself, or, I thought, oh man, I'm picking out the flaws on this bike, and when Jason, he gets his bike, and when he was looking at that bike, he wasn't looking at the failures in this bike. He was looking at the potential of this bike. He was like, man, I'll fix this on this. This is the bike that the Lord wanted for me. I got the cancer off this guy, and this is the bike I want, and this is the bike I'm going to get, and this thing is perfect. And so I like to think about the same time I'm getting down on myself, and I'm thinking, oh Lord, I ain't no good. Here I am just trying to get, I'm riding this bike home. About the same time Jason hears happy birthday, because he got the bike on his birthday. It's about the same time Jesus says happy birthday. It's about the same time, I'm thinking about the flaws and stuff on his bike, and he says, what failure? He said, what? See that bike here? That's the perfect bike for Jason. He didn't see any blemishes on this thing. He said this thing was perfect. He said, you know what I see about you? He said, you're perfect. He said, what flaws are you talking about? He said, you got every right to be with these men. He said, and you're going to feed these sheep just like it says in Peter. He said, I don't care how stubborn Peter was. I don't care how hard-headed he was. I don't care that he denied me 3 times. I'm going to pull him up out of that water. He said, now I won't let you feed my sheep. I don't care how many times I got to ask you.